Hi, Stacy.
Hi, is this Dr. Pepper?
Yes, it is.
Hi, good morning, Dr. Pepper. I didn't mean to call you Dr. Pepper.
Oh, you can do that. I don't care. It's fine.
Yeah, all of a sudden I just said Dr. Pepper. I meant Dr. Schwartz.
It's okay. I've
And
been done both.
it's all good. The Pepper's a good name. I like it.
Thank you.
I like that name. I like that name. Anyway, where am I speaking to you from? Where are you?
I'm in New York City right now, although I'm from Seattle.
You're from Seattle. Yeah, I was just looking at your Facebook, so I'm like a little confused. Seattle, Chicago, but I think I got it. All right, let's count down. 1, 2, 3. So, I'm here today with Dr. Pepper Schwartz. She is the former AARP, I want to say love ambassador, but I'm not sure if that's really your title.
Well, formerly it was Love, Sex, and Relationship Ambassador. I still write for them and still affiliated, but I'm not an ambassador anymore.
Well, in my eyes, you're the ambassador, so we're all good.
Thank you.
So I have some questions. I know that you talk a lot about an annual wellness checkup for your relationship. Can you tell me what that is?
Sure. I mean, it's just like the idea that we have to check with our doctor about, our blood pressure, our weight, our glucose, whatever it is. We go in and check it out. We go to our dentist. Do we have cavities? Are we okay? So why wouldn't we need that kind of review with our relationship? How are we doing? Are we doing what we want? What do we want as our future? Do the things that used to please us still please us? Without that kind of check-in, we're not as intimate as we should be.
And how would you approach that? I mean, I'm married 28 years. I mean, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to someone? Are we going to someone? Am I approaching this over dinner? I mean, how do you do this?
Well, there's a lot of ways to do it. You could actually literally go away for an enrichment weekend with somebody. There's all kinds of psychologists, et cetera, out there that do that kind of thing. Or you go to say to your husband, let's have a romantic dinner tonight and go over, what we're doing these days and what we might want to do, dream big, what would we like to be doing in 5 years? And also, are there things that are getting old and stale? I mean, I think that's an important thing. And then I would say, okay, I just heard this relationship expert and she gave me some ideas and I think some of these are interesting. And so I can give you some of those and then those would be good discussion points.
Well, I don't know. I mean, it sounds like a good idea on paper, and in my mind, I'm just not so sure how
I
that's
think
really going to play out.
Well, if you approach it as something romantic and celebratory, like let's talk about stuff like, for example, I think it's really important that couples disconnect and focus on each other. We're also addicted to our cell phones, our iPhones, et cetera. So you can also start saying, well, you know what, I feel like I'm doing too much of that. Or, in breakfast, or lunch or whatever it is, or in the weekends, it would really be nice if we, put them in the drawer for a while and just focused on each other. Or, I'd love to talk about, what's happening in terms of changes that I'm feeling in my health and, in my body. We can come back to that. Or the idea of, I'd like to try some new things. I really love the restaurant we usually go to, but I would love to start trying new places. Or I think it would really be fun if we learned a language together. There's a lot of research that indicates that novelty is what keeps couples really intense, keeps that spark between them, not the things that they know and love. You can still do those, but say, wouldn't it be fun if we, went to one of these places where we painted pottery, or I don't know your marriage, but I think there's something.
You certainly do not.
Okay, so that wouldn't work, right? But maybe it would be, we've never gone to a mountain retreat. Would that be fun? Should we try it for a long weekend? I mean, I think there's a lot of things that you have to obviously, know the person you're with. Otherwise, they might sound ridiculous. But I think it's really important. For example, couples we've seen don't hold hands as much as they used to. If you look at the research, probably 85–90% held hands all the time when they were just meeting, when they're 10 years or more, or a long-term relationship like your own. They barely do it or rarely do it. And that skin-to-skin contact turns out to be extremely important when you're not making love. And of course, let's get to making love. The question is, are you sharing everything you need to share? In a long-term relationship like yours, there's been a lot of body changes going on. Do you talk about it? Do you talk about the things that might affect it? For example, we found in research that 41% of all women have some kind of sexual dysfunction over their life cycle, whether it's postpartum or premenopausal or menopausal, or as a result of drugs they take for serious medical conditions like cancer. I mean, these things affect us. Do we talk about how they're affecting us? Do we think about how we might improve them? And then there's simple things like the kind of irritation and chafing we get from everyday activities like, bicycling or sitting or yoga. Do we share that? Do we say, okay, what can I do to change that? For example, the Replens line of products, let me speak more correctly, I have trouble saying it. They have a Moisture Restore external comfort gel that really handles that kind of chafing and irritation. Do we talk about it and then go look for stuff, or do we just suffer with it? I saw another study where a lot of women say all these changes are going in their body, they just handle them. They don't think that there's anything that can be done. And I just think that men and women should talk about these things. I'm sure men have issues. They have issues with their potency. They have issues with their own hormonal situation. They may feel bad about losing hair, etc. They don't talk about it. We don't talk about it with our most intimate partner.
No, they really don't. And men really, I feel like women discuss it between themselves, but I don't imagine that men chat it up like girls do.
I don't think they do either. And I think these are the kinds of things, if we want to be best friends and we want a relationship to deepen as we age and we change, then everything that's going on, or maybe not everything, but most things that are going on that we deal with or we think they're dealing with could be talked about, in ways that were supportive and comforting and within the embrace of, I love you, I need you, I'm here to stay. I don't mind these changes. I do think we want to address some of them to see how we're doing with them. But, those are the kinds of things. Sometimes it's not easy, but I think it always increases the intimacy and the depth of the relationship. Particularly getting out of your head and them getting out of their head and sharing and taking what are often really easy fixes for some kinds of conditions or circumstances that you don't know unless you either talk to yourself about it, hey, this is uncomfortable, I'm going to do something, or you talk to them like, I've noticed that, how do you feel about that? What should we do?
The good thing, today is that there's Google. And let's face it, people Google I think men will Google their problems before they speak about their problems.
They probably will, but if
there is a lot of self-diagnosis.
Sometimes wrong, actually.
Oh, sometimes wrong, right? Dr. Google always isn't correct.
Look at exactly, because the information is very mixed. Sometimes you just need a trusted source where you can go and that there's a pretty good chance that this follows data and sort of receive wisdom from, let's say, medical sources, et cetera. Sometimes your own pharmacy is a good place to go. But, basically I'd say if you notice an elephant in the room and your relationship is in the shape to talk about it, well, why not do that? Or just share, like, if you've had a day where, your body isn't feeling as good as it normally does, you just say, it's not just that I don't feel like it, but here's why I don't feel like it, and here's what I'm doing about it. And I've noticed this about you, and I did some research, and I think this would be a good idea. I know these aren't easy conversations, but
they're not an easy conversation. But let's go forward, because we know, look, those are the difficult ones, but how do you keep the spark alive? Forget about andropausal and menopausal. Forget about that.
Okay.
That being said, because we all suffer from that. If you live long enough, you're going to have something. But let's just say you are alive and things are good. How do you keep the spark alive?
Well, I think, and I mentioned it briefly going forward, a big part of that is putting new things in your relationship. Taking time to focus on each other and to discuss what would be fun, and then actually doing that. Why do people have more sex and more affection on vacations? Because they've given each other real time, relaxed time, dedicated time, and they're doing new things. And they are being more affectionate, they're communicating more, they've planned something, they make it happen. This isn't brain surgery or brain science. It's not that difficult. It's really giving the best of yourself to your partner and taking care of yourself so that you're in the mood and the health to do those things.
All right, and what about now? I have like a lot of friends who've gotten divorced, so now they're dating and they're, they're in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s. How is that different than, say, dating in your 20s and teens or 30s?
Well,
even?
you're a different person and you don't need the same thing. So first of all, you want to say, who am I now? I may have wanted to date a certain kind of person to please my parents 40 years ago, but that's not who I am now, and they may not even be around, and if they're, whatever they are, this is for you, and you've learned a lot of experience. You've changed over the time. You have different physical aspects. I know a lot of women and men are afraid to take their clothes off later on in life, but everybody's in the same boat, We're all kind of different, and we all have to change and respond to these physical things, and also, who we are now. Keep remembering, like, you might want something different. You're probably going to have to go online to find, somebody who's really looking for a partner, because, your stable of friends are pretty stable. So you need to kind of get outside of that network. And as I've said before, you probably need some kinds of health products, whether it's men taking some, the equivalent of a little blue pill, or it's women making sure that they're lubricating in a way that makes intimacy feel decent and desirable. Hey, you got to face up to these physical and hormonal changes because they're there. We've all experienced a lot more physical challenges than we would have when we were younger.
That's for sure.
Right.
So, and where can we get more information on this?
Well, for women, I really think, or for partners of women, replens.com will talk about the various different internal and external things you can do for yourself. You can also, on relationships, use the web, of course, and pepperschwartz.com. You can come and see the kinds of things that I'm writing about. But, be a detective in your own behalf in terms of knowing what's out there. A lot of it's easily available in terms of these products. They're available at any drugstore. You don't need prescriptions for a lot of this stuff. But, you've got to be more of an advocate for yourself as time goes on because, quite honestly, you need more, and it's easy. That some of these things are a lot easier to deal with than you think, but you have to go do it, and you have to talk about it so that you're both on the same page and feeling connected. Yeah,
well, I'm going to try and have that annual, what did we call that, an annual relationship checkup?
Yeah, and you can just bring me up, use me, say, okay, she was talking about this, what do you think? And what would we include in our relationship that we wanted to check up on? And, let's make it a game. Let's make it fun and think about it. I think important thing in a relationship is don't act like, okay, I've got this terrible, serious, horrible thing to talk about, right? No, let's have a celebration and talk about the future and what we'd like.
Well, and what would be your first 3 questions you would ask?
To your partner?
To my partner.
Hey, what would be a great thing for us to do that would really be fun? Start with the good stuff. Second, what are things that we've been doing that you're not so happy about? And third, and what kinds of changes in our everyday life might be fun to have? Put it in a positive framework so you can kind of brainstorm together.
All right. Well, this is really good advice, and I'm going to try and do that. So
Wonderful.
Thanks again. Thanks again. It was nice chatting with you. And this is Stacy Knows talking to Dr. Pepper Schwartz.
Thanks for talking to me. I appreciate it.